All right, let's talk about the book of Revelation. It's one of those books that's absolutely fascinating, but let's be honest, it's also probably one of the most misunderstood texts out there. But what if I told you there's actually a toolkit, a set of keys that can help us unlock it? Well, today, we're going to build that toolkit together. So why is this book so confusing and, yeah, even a little intimidating? I mean, if you've ever tried to read it and just felt totally lost, you are definitely not alone. You open it up and bam, you hit with beasts, plagues, all these weird cryptic numbers. It's a lot. It can feel really overwhelming. But what if all that confusion just comes down to a simple misunderstanding of what the book is even trying to do in the first place? And that really gets to the heart of it. See, we often treat Revelation like it's some kind of secret code for the 21st century, predicting, I don't know, helicopter battles or microchips. But that's not what it is. It's communicating through a really rich, ancient language of symbols. It's like trying to read a foreign language. You don't need a crystal ball to understand it. You just need to learn the vocabulary. Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to build this toolkit with 5 key pieces. We'll look at the language of Revelation, create a 3-step symbol decoder, figure out what's up with the numbers, learn to read it through first century eyes, and finally, we'll wrap up with a quick checklist. Let's get into it. All right, first things first. We have to remember what Revelation actually is. It's a letter, and it's also an apocalypse and a prophecy. But it started as a letter, written to 7 real churches back in the first century. Just try to picture their world for a second. They were living under the massive pressure of the Roman Empire, an empire where you might be forced to burn a pinch of incense to Caesar just to do business in the marketplace. This book was written for them, to speak right into the middle of their struggles.
Okay, on to tool number 2, a 3-step symbol decoder. Since Revelation's main language is symbolic imagery, we need a simple way to figure it out. This is a framework you can use for pretty much any symbol you come across. So the framework is super straightforward. Step 1, just identify the symbol. Like, what does John actually see? Step 2, ask yourself, what does this symbol mean? What ideas or concepts does it bring to mind? And then step 3, find its referent. In other words, who or what is this symbol pointing to back in its original context? Let's put this decoder to work with a famous one, the beast. Okay, step 1, the symbol. A 7-headed, horned, red beast. Got it. Step 2, its meaning. Well, what does a monster like that make you think of? Evil, chaos, total destruction, right? So, step 3, the referent. Who or what was this for a first century reader? That image would have screamed Roman Empire. It was the big, scary, multi-headed beast in their world. Let's try it one more time with the locusts from chapter 9. Symbol, scorpion-tailed locusts with human faces and lion's teeth. Yikes. Meaning, you've got to be thinking carnage, destruction, just immense power. So what's the referent? Well, the text actually tells us they come from the abyss, which in their world was code for the realm of demonic beings. So this isn't about some future military hardware, it's a powerful symbolic picture of demonic forces being unleashed. Okay, time for our next tool. Let's talk about numbers. Because in Revelation, numbers aren't just for counting. No, they are absolutely packed with symbolic meaning. And you see this first one everywhere. The number 7. I mean, think about it. 7 seals, 7 trumpets, 7 bowls. It's all over the place. So what's the deal with 7? Well, in this symbolic language, 7 is the number of perfection, of completeness. This is so important. When you read about 7 trumpets, the point isn't that there are literally 7 trumpet blasts. The point is that it represents the complete, final judgment of God. Okay, how about the number 12? This is another big one, and it leads us right to that famous number, 144,000. So 12 has always been the number of God's people. You have the 12 tribes of Israel in the Old Testament, the 12 apostles in the New. It's a pattern. So when you get to 144,000, it's not some literal head count for who gets into heaven. It's symbolic math. It's 12 times 12 times 1,000, representing the complete and total number of God's people from all of history. But what about a really weird number, like 3.5? You'll see this pop up as 3.5 years, or 42 months, or 1,260 days. It's all the same period of time. So what does it mean? Well, think about it. If 7 is the number of completeness, what's 3.5? It's a broken 7. It's a half 7. It symbolizes a period of intense trouble and persecution that seems like it's going to go on forever, but it gets cut short. It falls short of completion.
The message here is actually one of profound hope. Yeah, things are bad, but this suffering will not last forever. Okay, now we've arrived at what is maybe the most important tool in the entire toolkit, reading through first century eyes. We absolutely have to understand the historical context and try as best we can to see this book the way its very first readers would have.
I mean, just look at the difference here. The first century context was all about the Roman Empire, the immense pressure of emperor worship, the daily struggle of whether to compromise your faith just to make a living. That's their world. And that's what Revelation is talking to. It's not talking about computer chips or thermonuclear war or trying to name specific modern nations. Its focus was on their here and now. And this quote from Dr. Mathewson is pretty much the golden rule for reading Revelation. He says, any interpretation that John could not have intended or his readers could not have understood is probably to be rejected. It's that simple. This book wasn't meant to be a complete mystery for 2,000 years. It was a letter meant to be understood by its original audience. So if your interpretation would have made absolutely no sense to them, it's probably wrong.
All right, last tool in the kit. This is just a final, super simple checklist to keep in your back pocket as you read. So, 3 guiding principles. First, don't lose the forest for the trees. It is so easy to get bogged down in a weird detail about a locust's tail and completely miss the massive, overarching story of God's judgment and salvation. Second, use good commentaries. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Stand on the shoulders of smart people who've studied this stuff for decades. And third, and this one's huge, be humble. This is a complex book. No one has it all figured out, and a little humility goes a very, very long way. So when we put this whole toolkit together, something amazing happens. Revelation kind of transforms. It stops being the scary, confusing code book about the future, and it becomes what it always was, a powerful letter of hope and warning for people under pressure. It's a call to hang in there, to be faithful when it feels impossible. And that leaves us with a really important question. If we read it that way, as a first-century letter of hope, not a 21st century code, how does that change the message for you, right here, right now?